Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm Anne Alvares, parent coach, school counselor, and mother of two. Do you sometimes struggle with your parenting role? Do you notice that sometimes you're repeating patterns that you learned in your own childhood? Maybe you are carrying childhood pain that has not been healed, and you notice that it is showing up in your parenting with your own children. Perhaps you yell or get frustrated easily. Maybe you are directing them or telling them what to do all the time, and you notice that your actions are affecting your relationship with your children. Well, parents, I totally understand this. I came from childhood pain and I learned how to be a relational parent with my children. And I can teach this to you as well. This podcast is all about learning how to heal the childhood pain that we are carrying so that we can foster healthy relationships with our kids. Join us every week for a new show, and we will dive into the healing and the fostering of healthy relationships with our children. Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast and YouTube channel. Super excited. I have a special guest. Her name is Rachel Grant. She is a disruptor of traditional modes of healing, the creator of the Beyond Surviving program, international speaker, podcast host, and sexual abuse recovery coach with an MA in counseling psychology. She is also the author of Beyond Surviving, the final stage in recovery from sexual abuse. Welcome, Rachel. So excited.
Hey, thank you. Right on. Me too. Me too. Hello, parents. Nice to be here with you. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, very much looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, we're going to help parents today. Like if they have had any experience with sexual abuse or know of
Hmm.
somebody, maybe they could help people that are survivors of sexual abuse. So let's get into it. Um, how did you arrive, Rachel, at where you are now to specialize in sexual abuse recovery coaching?
Yeah, well, like most journeys, it's been a wiggly one. And I didn't intend to do this work. I thought I was actually going to be a high school English teacher. That's what I thought was going to be the plan. But as life was, unfolding and things were happening, I found myself back in 2006 going through a divorce. I'd been in that relationship for, 10 years, and it was not a healthy relationship. And so there was this way in which I was struggling with the shift in my life and starting over, and processing, the abuse and the trauma I had experienced in that relationship, but it was also really bringing to the forefront the fact that I hadn't really addressed the childhood abuse that I experienced. I was sexually abused by my grandfather. And so I just found myself in this moment in my new apartment. Literally didn't have anything in it yet. It was just like a lamp and a sleeping bag. And I was just sitting there looking around like, oh Lord, what has happened? You know, those defining moments in life where things really become so crystal clear. And that was one
Yes.
of them for me. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like if I do not get my shit together, like I am going to spend the rest of my life in this suffering and struggle and just surviving and kind of white knuckling it. And I had become really disenchanted with some of the other like traditional modes of healing. Therapy wasn't really getting it done for me. I was starting to better understand myself and the trauma. I was becoming very book smart about abuse and trauma. But
Yes.
whenever I would want to move into that, what do we do about this? How do we actually heal? How do I change this thing? I would just get kind of these blank stares. And I thought, gosh, like, do you not actually know? It got me to thinking like, maybe I'm not going to be able to rely on, these kinds of resources. So I, being the stubborn redhead that I am, was like, okay, let's figure it out. All right. And so I just started kind of using myself as a guinea pig. I was really just trying to heal myself and move forward in my life. But as I was doing that and I was hitting upon like strategies that were really shifting things, for me, I thought, well, I wonder if this might help other people. And so
Mm,
in those early days, there was just a crew of women, in my community who were willing to be guinea pigs, quite honestly. And like, okay, let's see, like if I teach you the same things that I'm doing, does it make a difference for you as well? And so now here we are, almost 19 years later, and all of that has been put together into what is now the Beyond Surviving program method, which I use to teach my clients all over the country, all over the world, how to really, it's kind of two parts, like integrate and resolve the trauma. While also, I sometimes describe it as a little bit of like growing up curriculum, like because we miss so many skills, right? When we're growing up
yes,
in environments that are not healthy, so, how to trust, communication, setting boundaries, releasing shame. And I really love to dig into like the neuroscience of trauma. Now, what's also true is alongside all of this, I was a teacher. I did become a teacher, but I worked in elementary education. And
yes,
then later in life, I was like a nanny. And then later in life, I was working as like a mentor for teens. And so I've had children in my life, like always, right? And child development. And so it's just been kind of a natural offshoot of the work that I do to support parents in their own healing, right? Because they want to be generational breakers, of
yes.
trauma. And as well as just understanding like things like prevention and awareness and disclosure and things like that.
Yeah, I find it fascinating. Like I relate to your story so well because I am
Mm,
also a victim of sexual abuse.
okay,
As a
okay,
child, my dad sexually abused me. And
okay.
I think it's funny how we gravitated to education, right? Like
Mm,
it's almost like that's part of the healing journey when you've been violated as a child and then you gravitate towards a career where you're with children. I just find that fascinating, but I do feel
yeah,
it is part of the healing because
so too. Yeah.
you're trying to make sense of of your childhood, right?
For sure. I think for me too, there was also this place of like, well, I know for at least these kids in my care, they're going to be okay. They're going to be safe. I
Yes,
had kind of that idea, not that I'm a superhero
yes,
or anything. I think it was
so
also this
true.
place of protection, right? Like, oh,
Yes,
I can create some safe spaces, for kiddos. But also, I think what's also really true is that developmentally, a big part of me stopped developing around age 10, 11. And
yes.
so I got along with kids just way better than I did with adults in a lot of ways, and so it kind of gave me this superpower for working with
Yes,
kids
yes.
that I was able to lean on as well. And still to this day, right? I'm very like childlike and, playful and silly and, maybe much rather hang out with the kids than the
Well, that's one of the giftings.
yeah, but it's less like from the place that I haven't grown up, just, preference. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so what challenges do survivors of abuse face as
Yeah.
parents?
Oh gosh, there's a whole gamut, right? So there's everything from just the process of pregnancy and birthing, right? That can be re-traumatizing because you are so in your body, right? When that's happening. And for a lot of survivors of abuse and trauma, they've done a lot of maneuvering to be kind of disconnected, a little numbed
Yes.
out, dissociated, right? And so
Mhm.
all of that process can just be super triggering because you need to be attuned to your body and the process of birthing and the vulnerability of that, also the advocating for yourself. And So there's kind of that physiological piece of it. And then there's kind of the emotional side of it, like what kind of parent am I going to be? Am I going to repeat the mistakes of my parents? Right? Am I going to be able to do differently here? And then as children hit milestones, sometimes that will cause like a re-triggering of past trauma, like as a child reaches like the same age that the parent was when they were experiencing abuse. Yeah. And then there's also just navigating the world, right? Some parents are like, I just want to lock my kid in a room and never let them out because I want them never ever to be hurt or harmed or, because
Yeah,
parents
yeah.
become really hyper vigilant. Yeah. And so trying to find that right balance in that space. um, regulation, your nervous system, if you've experienced trauma, you may have a lot of dysregulation, and that can be really tricky when you're dealing with kids who, need to have modeling for their regulation and for their window of tolerance and grounding and rooting. And so learning those skills. In fact, I have a masterclass coming up in January about that very thing because it's just such a key component. Like, how do we co-regulate with our kids and come out of those kind of trauma responses. So that's just, a few top of mind things, that
Yes.
there can be so many, different components. But yeah, there can be a lot going on for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to share, like, for me personally, I wanted my children to understand that it's not okay for anyone to touch you in your
Hmm.
privates. And I
Yeah.
really, really, at a young age, like when they were toddlers, I would
Hmm.
talk about their privates. And I would say, this is a private part, this is a private part. You don't show these private parts to other adults. And that you keep private. Only if a doctor is seeing you, and I would give them specific examples, right? Or mommy and daddy are watching you, but otherwise it's private, right?
Hmm.
Because I
Hmm.
didn't have that education when I was a kid, and I had very, very controlling parents. So I didn't feel safe
Yeah.
to and that is the thing about kids is if they don't feel safe in their homes, they will not disclose. So
100%. Yeah.
that's why we as parents have to create safety at home. And so for me, I really worked on having a safe environment where my kids could speak their minds, show all
Hmm.
their emotions, talk to me about anything, without
Yeah, that's beautiful.
judgment and all of that stuff. So, like having a safe home so that your kid, that's actually a form of protecting your kids,
Oh, for
is
sure, for sure. Yeah.
having a safe environment at home where they can
Hmm.
speak how they really truly feel about things, right?
Oh,
So,
for sure.
those,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think normalizing those conversations is so critical. And that requires, that the parent become comfortable with talking about things like sex and body parts and using the proper names and, these sorts of things and pleasure and desire and arousal, of course, age appropriate, right? But that's one of the things that in my Empowered Parent program is all about beginning to understand that even in infancy, we can start to language things. We can start because it's about you getting into the habit of talking about it, right? And feeling comfortable
getting
and it
comfortable.
becoming as normalized at like how did you do at school today? How was art class today? Did anything happen today? Right? Like let's have a little refresh about like body safety and consent um telling me if things practicing telling me if something's making you uncomfortable, these sorts of things. And I often advise my parents to just put it on the calendar as a formal thing like every 6 months to just do a little check-in because it's definitely not a one and done conversation, that
No,
is for sure. Because kids hear something different every single time and they might miss a piece, and then, in the next 6 month check in, they hear that part that they missed before. Of course, you're continually updating based on their age and what's now appropriate to share and what kinds of things they're facing or dealing with or circumstances or situations they might be in. As a teenager versus, a toddler. So yeah, I think just really being clear about those conversations, and sometimes parents just need some support in getting comfortable, having those conversations, and also just the language, like what do I say, and what will work or what not to say, what to avoid.
yeah. Yeah, one of the things that shifted my thinking was I watched a video about a police officer saying that we should not be telling our kids not to talk to strangers. We should
Mm,
actually tell our kids to talk to strangers, and then we should do it in a supervised way. So, like, let's
mm,
say you're in the mall and you say, go and talk to that merchant over there, right? The store owner there. Just say hello. And then come back to me and tell me, what did you think? What do you feel about that person? Because we all have gut instincts about people.
Oh, I like that. Yeah,
And
building
we have
intuition.
to teach our children to listen to their gut instincts, right?
Mm,
And
mm,
educate them that not every adult is a safe adult. And
right.
your gut instinct will tell you, is that a safe adult or not? He also
Hmm.
said, and just like, you know, I'm just explaining what the police officer said. I have no judgment, but it's safe 90% of the time it's safer to go to a female than to a
Mm,
male if you need
mm.
help, and to teach our children that. So
Wow.
that video kind of changed the way I think. And so I believe in exposing your children to conversations with adults and getting their feedback. What do you think? And let them
Love
share
that.
how they feel about that adult, right? Because
Mhm.
you can have family members you don't feel comfortable with. Like when I was a kid, I had an uncle who would pinch me really hard in the cheeks, and it really
Yeah.
hurt. And I didn't want to go visit that uncle, but I didn't feel safe enough to tell my parents, I don't like this uncle. He pinches me really hard. So
Yeah.
we have to allow our children to speak, even if it's a family member that they feel uncomfortable with, because a lot of times abuse happens within families, right?
Yeah, yeah. Majority of abuse happens within the context of somebody that you know, a trusted adult or somebody that's a family member. And for sure, I think having those conversations are all about empowering your child. The more empowered you are as a parent, the more empowered your child will be. And so the more in attunement you are with your own voice, and the more you're able to stand up for yourself and set your own boundaries and use your own voice, then it will trickle down and you'll be able to model that even more. And then you're going to create those spaces where your children, their voice is honored, acknowledged. Doesn't mean they always get what they want. I'm going to
That's
hear
true.
you, right? I'm
Yeah.
going to listen to you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So
I say
learning
we
to
we
trust
we give them what,
themselves.
yeah, I always tell parents we give our kids what they need, not what they want. And
Mm-hmm.
we explain it to our kids that way. We say, my job is to give you what you need, honey, like good nutrition, exercise, fresh air. Like, my job is to give you what you need. And if I give you what I want, what you want, then that's a gift, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But really,
Nice.
my job is to give you what you need, right? So that's kind of the reframe to understand what our role is as parents. We're not
Yeah.
the we're not the satisfier of every want.
Yeah, that comes up sometimes too as another trauma response. If you've grown up in a
Yes.
household that was very rigid, a lot of rules, or you weren't really able to be express yourself, then sometimes parents will go too far on the other end of the spectrum, right? And they're way too lenient. Yeah,
Yes.
and just and the kid kind of has the run of the house, and so sometimes we're working on finding the balance there, right? And like, no,
Yes.
you have to actually have some authority. You have to assert yourself. You have to create that container for your child. They need it. They want it, even if they rebel against it. Ultimately it's best for them to have that structure and to have that safety, as you said.
100%. Do you see like that it's very common for parents who've come from abuse and trauma to parent out of fear, like have a lot of fear in their parenting?
Can be, yeah, absolutely can be. Like we were kind of saying earlier, that hypervigilance, being afraid to let their children, go out, stay overnight. And of course, like again, prevention, understanding the things that you can do to minimize and reduce the risk, right? We want to do those things. But keeping our child like locked in, if you will,
Yes.
ultimately sets them up to be more vulnerable, because like just like you were saying, like you have to be able to maneuver through the world and
Yes.
sense and converse and all of those things. And so it's understandable why that fear is there. I think even parents who haven't been abused, right, they have fears about their kids, being hurt or harmed. And I think it just like you turn the dial up a little bit when you've had the experience of abuse and trauma. And one of the things that I I remember I said to my client once that just really hit home for her was it's just when you're teaching a child to drive, like you teach them defensive driving, right? Here's how you drive safely. Here are the things that you try to pay attention to, all the things that you're going to try to do. But somebody could still run a red light and hit your child.
Yes.
And that sucks. And it's going to be scary and it's going to be tough. And you're going to be able to step in and do what needs to be done in order to help your child in that moment. Right. And so I think for her, like remembering that, noticing that, like, okay, I can't live in the energy of I have to try to eliminate risk because it's just exhausting, number one. It's impossible, number two. And it's teaching your child all the wrong lessons about the world and about autonomy and agency. And so instead about being how to respond and how to react to hurt or harm or these kinds of situations or what to do is it's going to help you and your child feel more grounded and more empowered in those moments. Yeah.
100%. Like we cannot prevent everything from happening to them, but we can empower them, you know,
Hmm.
so that
Yeah.
they understand. Like I think like for me, what I teach parents is we have to be healthy with our kids because we didn't grow up in a healthy home. Okay.
Right.
Because if we grew up in a healthy home, probably the abuse wouldn't have happened. Or
Well, sure.
we would have been able to stop it right away and talk about it. But because we didn't grow up in a healthy home where we felt safe, where we could speak our mind, then we have trouble with our parenting because we think that we have to overprotect. We have
Hmm.
to we have to make sure I don't want that to happen to my child, so I'm going to make sure that they don't go out or they don't sleep over or they can't go to that camping trip that the school is going on, right? But I'm saying parents, that's actually not good because your fear is getting in the way of your child growing.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
you've stifled it. You've stifled their growing because you haven't resolved or you haven't healed to let the fear go,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's all about proportion. So one of the things that's just true about trauma is that it causes us to have what I call disproportional responses. So whether it's our reactivity to what somebody says or does, it's disproportional, feelings, or disproportional like boundaries. And so it's all about bringing things into a proportional response. And yes, we want to set boundaries, but that we don't want them to be suffocating, right? Yes, we want to teach our children safety, but we don't want it to be, overwhelming or terrifying, right? And so, yeah, finding that balance in yourself first and foremost, as we kind of mentioned, then helps you sit down, and again, that regulation piece, like when you're grounded, when you're regulated, when you're not working from that place of fear, anxiety, then that's what your child picks up on. Okay, this is the energy that I can feel myself too, and I can navigate my world with more clarity and
Yes.
more a sense of agency. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so true. Our
Hmm.
energy is such a big factor
Yeah.
in parenting well.
Yeah. Sure
Okay, so
is.
so let's get into a little bit of how do we help parents, especially those who've experienced childhood pain, childhood trauma, co-regulate with their children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, it's really about beginning to understand the neuroscience of trauma, to begin to retrain the way that your nervous system was patterned in the context of abuse. So towards either dissociation and numbing out and freezing, or like fight, flight, a lot of hypervigilance and anxiety. So the first thing that we always want to work on is our own nervous system. And so, whether that's through the Beyond Surviving program or something else, or the work that you do, right? That is foundation number one. You have to start to understand where your nervous system is, be attuned to that, be able to regulate. right? And then from that, when your child is having reactivity, then you can recognize it less as labeling is important. So instead of it's being a tantrum or they're being rebellious or they're being difficult, really seeing like, oh, my child's having like a fight response right now. Okay, like let me soothe that. And a lot of times we make the mistake of trying to go to language first, like calm
Right.
down or it's okay. But when you're just like you, when you're dysregulated, words don't really matter. If you ever had anyone tell you to calm down, you certainly did not. You certainly did
Yeah,
not when they told you that, right? And
so
you can't
true.
even think in words because of what's
Yeah,
happening neurologically when there's
yeah.
dysregulation, activation. The prefrontal cortex is just not really online. And so trying to be logical with a child um, when they're in that kind of mode, just it falls flat. And then of course that creates more escalation because they get frustrated, you get frustrated. So it's more about learning how to sit and breathe, how to just soothe, how to just be a calming presence, right? And hold
Mhm.
space. Yeah. And then once the child is regulated and you are still regulated, then we can have a conversation about what happened and what was okay and what wasn't okay and those sorts of things. But that's the first place that I always invite parents to start is try to see through the lens of like regulation, dysregulation. Don't label or shame the, behavior. Create safe containers for that. And children really need a lot of room to like follow their impulses. They're actually very good at regulating. Um, it's just, if you allow the process and the space to
Yes,
do it, right? If you don't interrupt
yes.
it, like stop crying, it's okay, get over, come on, get up already, like any of that kind of stuff basically interrupts, their system's natural ability to go through a process of dysregulation into regulation.
So true. So true. We have to be comfortable with them
Mm,
experiencing the dysregulation,
yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
the more tense we are, the more tense they get.
Hmm.
So we have to sit with them in the moment and don't rush to problem solving. Just,
Yeah,
just, just sit with it. Sit with
yeah.
it. Sit beside them. Hold their hand if that's what they want, you know, and
Hmm.
and you can. I always say to parents, you can ask, "What do you need right now? Do you want to sit down? Do you want to calm down? Shall we breathe together?" You can say, "What do you need from me right now?" Right?
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think with honestly, I mean, no matter how old the kid gets, the basics of just nurturing always apply. I think when a child starts to
Mhm.
have language, parents often start to flip to trying to use language, persuasion, conversation in
Mhm.
order to navigate the situation. I'll never forget years and years ago. My great nephew, we were at a grocery store and he really wanted those Cheetos and
And
Cheetos.
have to play
And I
them.
was like, not today, baby. I said, we actually have Cheetos in the car. We don't need to buy them. We're in the grocery store to buy some other things that we need, but the Cheetos are actually already in the car. He did not believe me. And oh man, we were having a full meltdown. And so I scooped him up and I walked outside of the store and he's 6 years old. So he's, significant size, but I'm holding him, cradling him just like I would, a 6 month old. And I'm standing outside in front of the grocery store and I'm rocking him, not using any words, not saying anything, just patting him and rocking him. And it was fascinating watching the people walk by, right? Like some people are like, what are you doing? That's a grown child, right? Other people, particularly mothers, were like, that's amazing. I love that. No.
Yeah.
And he settled down and he quieted down. And then he was able to hear me and the logic of like, let's go to the car. You can see that the Cheetos are there. So don't, I guess, my main point in that story is just to say, even teenagers sometimes just need to be cuddled and need to be held, right? And our words and our
Yes.
language and our logic sometimes really fail. And what we really
Right.
need is just presence and quiet and calm and to just remind them that they are held, they are loved, they are seen, they are nurtured. Yeah.
Yes. I love it. I love it because that is modeling a new way of helping our children. Because
Mhm.
I know I just want to blame society, but really it is society's fault because society has always said, follow the rules, control your children. Their behavior is a reflection of your parenting. You're not a good parent. All this garbage. And that is absolutely not true. In fact, our kids suppressing their emotions damages them. So we
100%.
have to allow them to express frustration, anger, upset, as well as the good, like the emotions of feeling happy and joyful. Like all the emotions are good. All the spectrum of emotions, they're all good.
Yeah.
So let's allow them and be okay with them having the meltdown or the anger
Hmm.
or they're upset. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. I'm here for you. You
Yeah.
can get mad,
Yeah,
right?
and for survivors of abuse and childhood abuse, when your emotions were not allowed or you weren't modeled, like that is another piece of the healing, right? Because if you're like, I don't even know how to express my own feelings, so then how do I hold space for my, or I have lots of judgment about my angry feelings. So then of course you're going to have judgments, are going to want to shut down your child's anger, right? So again, the more you are able, it's really like the more you're able to do the thing, the more you're able to support your child in doing the
Yes.
thing,
Allowing
right?
yourself to express your feelings. Because
Yeah.
I do find I've worked with parents that really repress their feelings, right?
Mhm.
And then they feel it's the repressed feeling parents that have the most trouble when their children are experiencing
Right, feelings.
emotions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
not comfortable. Like, I didn't grow up that way. Like, why are they upset? Like that
Mhm.
sort of thing. But we have to change it, allow ourselves to feel what we feel and be
100.
good with it. Don't label it. Be good
Yeah.
with it. And then that way we can give that to that's a gift that we give to our children. Because
Mm,
honestly, I say this all the time, we would not have the problems that we have today if we allowed our kids to truly express themselves
that
in
part.
every
Yeah.
way. Like
Yeah.
the worst thing, and I'm a boy mom of two, right? And I really feel strongly about this.
Mhm.
Um, we want healthy men. We want to raise healthy men. We let our boys express all emotions. We
Mhm.
let them cry. We say it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
We let them talk about something they're angry about. It's okay. We let them express anger. Like, even if it we're uncomfortable with them yelling or whatever, let them yell and then just say, okay, what's going on?
Mm.
How can I help you? I hear you're angry. Right? If we do that, if we in our homes create safety for them feeling their emotions, then they are going to have healthy relationships with their families, right? So
Absolutely.
we're the ones that can turn everything around and
I love.
raise
Yeah.
healthy people, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, I know for sure, for those, parents who have experienced abuse, they do want to, break generational trauma. They want to, set a different stage, for their kids. And it's so doable. I mean, I really want you all to hear that. It's not an insurmountable thing. There's so much potential and possibility for healing. As I say all the time, trauma is not a life sentence. Like you
Yes.
get to move forward and move on and live your best life and raise up those kiddos, with love and nurturing and kindness. You're not going to do it perfectly. Nobody's ever going to do it perfectly. But learn even just owning and having accountability within, the parent-child relationship. That's a whole other topic, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, there's so many good things there. So yeah, I hope y'all are taking a little something, from our conversation today, even just one little piece of it, something that you can practice or start to bring in, to your parenting and mostly just be so kind and compassionate and patient with yourself because none of it's
Yeah.
easy. But it's so rewarding. I always say like all my little surrogate babies out in the world. I have hundreds. So, you know, but yeah, awesome.
Healing is possible.
Yeah.
Changing changing and breaking the cycle and changing how you were parented with your own kids is possible. And you can raise healthy children even though you came from brokenness.
Love that. Beautifully
So
said.
let's do it. Let's
Indeed.
just do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. And do you know when this video is going up? Is it going up before January 22nd?
Yes, most likely.
Most likely. Okay, so yeah, if you all want to come to the nervous system regulation and co-regulation for parents, you just want to pop over to rachelgrantcoaching.com/CPTSD workshop. We'll make
Mhm.
sure we have that link in the show notes. And because that's going to be a great place to just build on, this conversation. And if there's any other way that I can be a support to you as in your own individual journey of healing, if you're curious about the Beyond Surviving program, you can reach out to me. You can find lots of great free resources for healing, everything from my monthly drop-in group to the Facebook group to my podcast, to those sorts of things on the website. And I just really want to appreciate you, Anne, for the space that you're creating for
Oh,
parents to come and talk and be seen and held and heard and taught, because right, just we need to teach parenting. It's
yes.
not something that we just intuitively do. There's some parts of it that
Yeah.
are, but those skills, and for all of you here listening who are learning and investing in yourself as a parent, kudos to you and cheering you on. And again, anything I can do to be a support or a resource, I'm here. So just reach out.
Thank you so much, Rachel Grant. I love the work that you're doing, and
Thank you.
I appreciate all that you've learned and all that you're sharing with us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, so parents, I hope you got a lot of value from this, and and stay tuned and reach out, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody. Thank you, parents, for joining the show today. If this show blessed you, changed you, or helped you in any way, I would appreciate a Google review or a review on my podcast. And I would love you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Masterful Parenting, so we can get the word out to more parents about relational parenting. Thank you so much, parents, and we will see you next time. Take
Audio
care,
Jungle.
everybody.